old.
Well, welcome.
I'm very old. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
I'm trying to get it up and running. Just give me a few seconds.
It's up.
It's working now. Can you see my screen? Can you see
I
my
can.
screen?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Okay, so as I already said, good morning. Natalie would have already maybe given you a little bit of intro about me, who I am. I'm just gonna read from a few of my slides because I do have slides that I prepare for different workshops at different times. So you all can ask your questions at the end. How much time do I have? 1,000?
I listen. 1 hour 15 minutes.
Okay. I should be done before that, but all right, let's see. All right, so a little about me. Kevin Conscious Davis is the name I basically go by most times. Uh, my right name is Kevin Davis. I choose conscious as a name to define me or to describe me. My screen is up now. Are you seeing it?
Yes.
Yeah, we see it.
1,000, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So, like I said, I choose the word conscious to define or to describe myself because I'm a transgender, and a lot of persons don't understand that we are people, we're human beings, just like everyone else. And people tend to say that we are confused because we tend to do transition or because we tend to go through the medical changes. Some of us, most of us, go through the medical changes, and some persons just don't feel like it's right because it's against what they believe or they weren't socialized that way. So they see us as, and that is not really the case, because even if a trans person should have any form of abnormality, it has nothing to do with the fact that they transition, because heterosexuals have their own disabilities, or their, I wouldn't even say abnormality, I would say they have their own disability. Just we're just human beings just like everybody else. So whether you're disabled or you're able-bodied, you're a human being and you should be treated as such. So I'm a registered social service worker, counselor, and for counseling, some of my services are relationship counseling, HIV and AIDS, LGBTQI plus, gender identity, sexuality, sexual orientation. Those are some of the topics or the sessions that I major in with my clients. I am also an activist, advocate, motivational speaker, education, educator, and a public speaker for the LGBTQ2I plus and HIV/AIDS or and AIDS community. I also specialize in FTM, transition counseling, meaning persons who want to transition from female to male. I have counseling sessions with them so they can know what the whole transition entails, what to expect and what to not expect. Okay, so I'm the CEO of Kevin Help a Trans Initiative. This is a business geared at helping anyone who wants to learn about the LGBTQ plus community, and I host seminars, podcasts, and so forth. One of my major strengths where this initiative or this organization is concerned is to help family members to support other family members when they make their sexual orientation or their gender differences known to the public, because of course they need their family now more than ever because they're going against the norms of society. So they will be feeling really depressed. Some of them feel like an outcast. So not having your family support tend to take a big toll on a lot of persons when they come out. Like I said, Kevin is a transgender FTM, female who transitioned to male. The reason for me transitioning, because people always ask this question, how do you know you wanted to transition? Or when did you feel like you wanted to transition? I knew all my life, I always felt like a boy. Then I matured into a man. So I always felt like a man trapped inside of a woman's body. Another thing I explained to people, I felt like I was given the wrong gender at birth. A lot of people would not understand that because where I'm from in Jamaica, Jamaica is ruled on a lot of Bible principles. They are very religious, but not everybody tend to be a Christian. Not all of them are living the life as Christians as the Bible would want them to be. But where LGBTQ is concerned is like the biggest sin in the Bible. I don't really feel like my life, my truth, me being a trans person is a sin. But if I take up that conversation with the Christians, it would sound as if I am blaspheming and blah, blah, blah. Transition for me came in 3 stages, and I'm telling you about the transition because the topic you guys are on, I think you've done a little about gender identity, sexuality, and pronouns and so forth. So that's why I'm telling you a little about me, where transition is concerned. Transition for me came in 3 stages. Stage 1, mentally, stage 2, socially, and stage 3, medically. Mentally, I had to come to terms with myself, accept myself for who I am, not who or what society or family wanted me to be. Socially, I had to let the people around me know who I am, and so they can stop seeing me for what they thought I was or who they thought I was. And a lot of them came to the understanding and the realization that there's more to me than just the girl they grew up with. Medically, I have done medical changes to my body so I could sync my body with my brain. Like I said, I was born in Jamaica. I migrated to Canada 2014 based on my sexuality and gender identity. I couldn't stay in Jamaica and live happy or free to be myself, live my truth. So I had to migrate for a better life. I knew I was not a girl somewhere within the ages of 3 and 6. I knew I was in kindergarten when they always want me to do the things that girls are supposed to do, and I would sit back and not be a part of it. When the teachers would say, girls, sit on the left, boys, sit on the right, I would be sitting in the middle of nowhere or I just go outside because I don't feel like a girl. But yet, if I go to the boys' side, then the boys are going to tease me and send me back over. So rather not move, I would sit in class and cry. I remember a teacher was telling us to read about, there was a storybook that we read in kindergarten. I am a girl, I am a boy, I am big. When it was my time to read I am a girl, I would not read that line. And the teacher spanked me because they thought I was being rude. So I grew up in a very religious home. Like 3 of my brothers are pastors. My 2 grandfathers were pastors just the same. So growing up in a very religious and spiritual home, it wasn't easy for me to live my truth, so I had to pursue it here in Canada. A lot of persons will be wondering why I say I knew from I was the ages of 3 to 6 that I wasn't a girl. Persons will say that I'm lying because that's too early to tell. But the persons who are listening to my presentation now, you don't have to answer this question. But at what age did you recognize or did you know your gender? Most of you would say the answer is between kindergarten and primary school. Yes, because your parents would have dressed you accordingly. They would have dressed you in red, they would have dressed you in yellow or pink or blue because in most cultures, certain colors are for certain gender. So your parents would be dressing you in pink if they say you're a girl. If you're a boy, they'll be dressing you in blue. So very early, a lot of you would start to form the idea who you are, where gender or where personality is concerned. So for me, I wasn't able to live how I wanted to live or how I felt. So I just had to work with the norms of society until I was able to leave Jamaica and come to Canada. These are some of the objectives. I might not go through all of them because you guys are on different topics, but some of the things that Ms. Townsend would have spoke to you people about or lectured on will come back in this presentation. So just bear with me because there are a few changes to the LGBTQ, and that is why I told Ms. Townsend, I just came off my night shift because I'm working night shifts, but I'm like, I'm obliged. I'm happy to be a part of this platform to um, enlighten you guys about the different changes in the LGBTQ community. So you all can see my screen. So these are some of the objectives to bring awareness to the realities and lived experiences of sexual orientations and gender identity. The different expressions as a diverse spectrum as opposed to the Can't pronounce that enough. Heteronormative male female. I will also be touching upon how all those who are attending this workshop can become allies if you feel like becoming an ally. An ally is not a person who is a part of the LGBTQ. An ally is just anyone who feels like they have enough knowledge that they can pass it on to anybody else. If time permits, I'd like to clear up some of the myths that are used towards the LGBTQ community. I hope to clear up some of the discriminatory and derogatory slash homophobic terms that are regularly used, which is wrong and can be hurtful towards the LGBTQ community. I will briefly be exploring why people stereotype, discriminate, stigmatize towards the LGBTQ. Everyone will be educated on various definitions that applies to the LGBTQI plus community. This workshop will also help teachers, students, children, adults, just about anyone from anybody who's listening to learn more, and then you can pass the knowledge on to other people. I hope to speak about some of the issues or challenges that LGBTQ students are faced with in our schools and how we can help to make positive changes. According to the Oxford Dictionary, sexuality meaning, like a lot of you should already know what sexuality means. I want to touch upon the word male. Who is a man? Who is a male? According to the dictionary, it's saying that the definition for a man is like a boy. The definition for a male is a man or a boy. But if we should ask ourselves this question, was the word even defined? Did they even define the word by just saying the definition for a male is a man or a boy? That's what the Oxford Dictionary showed me. So if you look deeper into that, they are still not making references to transgender persons, and some transgender persons do not take a gender. Some of them are non-binary. So when you're gonna be so binary to say male or female, you are leaving out like almost 1/3 of the population, which is kind of unfair. But because a lot of the statistics were done before people gain knowledge about people like me or my community, the trans community, then we do understand with them, and we do. That's why a lot of us are putting ourselves out there to educate people about the trans community. You speak about male or a person who is capable of making sperm. It also speaks about the male plant, but there are men out there who cannot produce enough sperm to get a woman pregnant. Are you going to tell that man that he's less of a man or he's a girl? No, I dare you. Nobody will be brave enough to approach a person who was given the male gender at birth, who still has the physical male body part. None of you are going to be brave enough to approach that man and say, hey girl, come here, or good morning, miss. You're not going to do that. But when people see transgender persons, especially trans men or trans women, who take the opposite gender because they transition. For myself, for example, people would see me as masculine as I look, but because they knew me when I was a girl, they would still look at me and refer to me as mom, which is very disrespectful. The same way you would not look on a male who has the correct body parts and call him a female. Why would you do that to me? Because you knew me then? That's my past. So if I was a police in my past life or 10 years ago, which I was, would you look at me today and still say to me, officer, good morning? That doesn't make any sense because that's my past. I was a police like almost 7 years ago. So why would you still refer to me as a police now when that's my past occupation? So it's the same thing for transition. Where female is concerned, according to the dictionary, where I'm getting into something. Though it speaks of the woman or the girl who's capable of making eggs and giving birth. But transgender men can give birth if they want to. If they are not on the testosterone and their eggs are still being fertile, they are able to bring forth a child. Some trans men are not interested in doing bottom surgery. So if they still have the vajayjay there, then it's obvious that they can give birth. And even if they want to remove the vajayjay and get the P instead, they can still have a C-section. But you can't let that person feel as if he's not a man because he's able to bring forth a child. I really don't want to confuse people, but this is where the world is getting, and it's best if you learn from now. So when you get out there to work in the world of work, then you don't get lawsuits, because transgender persons, LGBTQ persons, are out there who really take an offense to certain conversations. If you ask the wrong questions and they feel like you're homophobic, your question is derogatory, or your question is imposing your beliefs on them, then they can sue you, and the law in Canada will back them, because Canada is very diverse. And that is why I put myself out there to educate people before they have to learn the hard way. Where gender is concerned, the fact of being male or female, especially when considered with reference to social and cultural differences, not differences in biology, members of a particular gender or group. So another definition the Oxford Dictionary recently added for gender, it may reference to the fact that gender is also used more broadly to mean a range of identities that do not necessarily fit in with the usual division between male and female. I think they're trying to get at the point where they want to say transgenders now exist, but I'm not sure who writes the dictionary, so they're not gonna be specific on point, but at the same time, they amended their previous definition. So where identity is concerned, who or what, the definition for identity is who or what someone or something is. And that is why when I speak about transgender, sometimes I say who or what, because people take different pronouns, and life may get to a stage where persons may feel like they want to use the word it as a pronoun. And if life get to that place or stage, we just have to appreciate and accept people for who they say they are. Diversity, a range of many people or things that are very different from each other. So let's look closer into the spectrum. Another way of defining the LGBTQ spectrum accurately, I would say it represents the ways in which an individual's sex, gender, identity, or gender expression, sexual and romantic orientation do not always exist as opposite endpoint. They can exist in any combination, and a person's placement on one spectrum does not necessarily determine their placement on any of the other spectrums. In short, what they're trying to say, do not confuse your gender or a person's gender with their identity or their sexuality. Those are three different things. Let me use myself for example again. I'm a trans man. That's my identity. Another identity can be a male. Another identity can be a female. Another identity can be non-binary. But for me, my identity is a trans man. My gender can be, my gender is a male because that's how I see myself. So it's basically up to you to identify how you want. You can be a female and you want to identify yourself as a femme, because even though you only date men because you're heterosexual, but you still don't have to identify as a girly girl. You can identify as a tomboy. You can identify as a heterosexual. It's up to you to say who you are and make the people within your circle know you for who you are. Nowadays, in the LGBTQ community and even the place of work, we encourage people that there are ways in which you can find out if a person is a part of the LGBTQ without being disrespectful. Like even emails nowadays, at the end of the emails, they would say, yours truly so and so, and then they put their name, and in bracket they would put their pronouns. This is a way of telling people who you are. So your pronoun, you put he, she. If you're none of that, you can put they, them, their. Or if you're trans, you don't have to put trans for your identity. You just put your pronoun. It's up to people if they want to ask more questions. Sometimes it's not necessary because they already have an understanding who you are from you putting your pronoun. If you should be giving services to someone in the future, and whether you're a counselor or a teacher, when the students come to your classroom, just say, good morning, I am Mrs. So-and-so, my pronouns are so-and-so. If you have a preferred pronoun or a preferred name that you would like for me and the rest of the class to call you by, introduce yourself and say such, so we don't make mistakes in the future. When I started college 2019, here in Canada, I was really happy to know that I had the opportunity to tell people that I'm a trans man, because previous years I went to school and I was always strapping down, because then I never did my top surgery. So I was always strapping down my chest so I don't show my breast area and whatever. And I never had much facial hair. So I would always like wear a lot of hoodies because I don't want my feminine features to be shown. But when I went to college, nobody cared for that. When I heard the teacher say, "Oh, is there any way that you prefer to be identified?" And I just put it right out there. I'm a trans man, FTM, female who transitioned to male, and blah, 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 blah. My pronouns are so and so. Nobody in college made the mistake and called me a she and all of that. No, because from day one, I told them who I am. So I'm a trans man, that's my identity. Male is my gender. However, my sexuality is heterosexual because I'm only attracted to femininity. I can date a cisgender woman, I can date a trans woman. I like, even if a gay man is very, very feminine, I probably would have dated that person, but that person has to be on the receiving end. But even if the trans woman has not done medical transition, I still would have dated that person because trans women are women. So whether or not they have done surgeries, they're still classified as women. So people who are listening to my words, just be careful when someone identify as a trans woman, even if they still have the P, even if the P is still obvious, even if they don't wear makeup and lipstick and lace wig and all these fancy girly stuff. Once the person says I'm a trans woman, you have to make some room to appreciate them and give them services just the same. And trust me, they can know when you're faking it, because we know if a person just look at you and say, "Good morning, sir," and then there's a smirk behind it, then I would rather you not communicate with me, because it's like you're giving a compliment and taking it back, or you're communicating with me and then the look on your face is like, "Oh my God, why did I have to do that? What did I just do? I wish I never had to," we can read you easily. Where the spectrum is concerned, the spectrum can be broken down into four different parts. The gender identity would be the first part of the spectrum. I'll maybe go into the other three after. I'm just going to swing through this quickly. So under the gender identity, it basically gives you the different type of genders. It visualizes gender as a continuum stretching from men to women and masculinity to feminine. Gender identities other than man or woman is considered non-binary. The middle range of this spectrum might include transgender, a more general term for those who do not identify with the gender generally associated with the sex they were assigned at birth. Agender, those persons who do not identify with any gender. And then you have the genderqueer, those who feel they are a combination of, between, or beyond genders. Genderqueer is also an expression used for the LGBTQ on a whole. If a person don't feel like they want to associate themselves or give themselves a specific title or acronym, then they just say gender queer, or they just say I'm queer. The gender expression basically is the way in which you express yourself, how you feel. Gender expression doesn't have to be LGBTQ oriented. Masculine male, a cisgender man can say, he can express himself as a butch, or he can express himself as a dom. And that doesn't mean he's gay. It doesn't mean that he's bisexual. He's still cisgender. He's attracted to only feminine women, or cisgender women, because I don't want to be biased when I say feminine women, because trans women are very feminine just the same. Whether they have done medical transition or not, they're still feminine. So I have to be careful with my words. But when I say they are attracted to cisgender women, then that's kind of different. It makes it more easier to digest. So a butch would be an expression or a personality term used by lesbians and gays, or just about anyone, like I say. Heterosexual cisgender male can call himself a butch. Butch just shows that you're practically very masculine. Um, Where androgynous is concerned, it's an expression or personality that mixes masculinity and femininity. It's a term that can be used by anyone. Again, this is not a LGBTQ term. We're just speaking of the different expressions that I am aware of. They are used by any community. We spoke about the top. It just speak that the person is the dominant person. In heterosexual relationship, a lot of men are not as dominant as they look. They're just being dominant because society put this role on men that they're the head of the house and they should be a macho man per se. So a lot of men are out there and they want to be submissive to their wives. If it's even in the bedroom and they want to do role play, they are afraid to let their guards down and let their feminine partner, their cisgender woman, or whoever they're in a relationship with. A lot of macho masculine men are afraid of being submissive or doing role play in their bedroom because they feel like if the woman tells their friend, then they are not the macho man they're supposed to be because it's against their belief, it's against the norms of society, which it don't really make any sense to me because whatever happens inside your bedroom is for your pleasure and your partner's pleasure. So why should you restrict yourself from the enjoyment that you could have in the bedroom because you're afraid of what people think? In Jamaica, a lot of men would say they don't go down on a woman because it's against the code of being macho man, and if they do this then them groans or people would look on them a certain way, and that doesn't make any sense because then they're losing out because then you have persons out there who have no problem in doing it for them, and then they lose their perfect relationship, they lose their wives, their baby mothers, because they fall short in the bedroom again because of the myth, because of the stereotypes, because of the norms of society and the values. People place a lot of values and emphasis in the wrong things. So the bottom would be the submissive or the sub, that's the opposite of the dom. The two shades is a term that can be used by anyone. It's a term basically used in the bedroom. It speaks towards the roles in the bedroom or the relationship. Is it a 50-50 relationship where money is concerned? Is it a 50-50 relationship where the bedroom or the house chores are concerned? Two shades. Most Caribbean relationships would be a 70-30 instead of two shade, but then other persons who are in the working field would say equal rights because women work just as hard as men, trans persons work just as hard as non-binary persons. So there shouldn't be a case where according to certain traditional roles and values, the family would say the man is supposed to take care of the house. He's supposed to go out and work, and the woman is supposed to stay home and take care of the kids. That is not happening like in the 50 years ago and so forth, or in the earlier centuries. Nowadays, a lot of females, a lot of trans persons, a lot of individuals are walking away from the traditional way of raising their children or the traditional way in which they were raised to go out there and fend for themselves, which is very good. And I commend all the persons who are doing that. The third one on the spectrum is the sex. The sex speaks about is not just for binary population. Binary meaning male or female. They are now more inclusive of other persons. So intersex is the word that has been used to reduce hermaphrodite. Hermaphrodite is now considered a derogatory term because heterosexual would use it to disrespect the persons who were given more than one organs or more than one if they have mixed hormones. So let me define heterosex. People are individuals born with physical sex markers, genitals, hormones, gonads, or chromosomes that are neither clearly male nor female. The existence of intersex people show that there are not just two sexes and the lines between sexes can be reasoned with. I like this definition from the Oxford because I have a friend, somebody who I know in real life. She was given both genitals. Her parents removed the male one when she was very young, or when this person, she goes by she or they. So if you hear me say she, understand. The person already told me the pronouns that she uses, either she or they. If she dresses like a butch or a stud or a masculine person, that time that person go with the they pronoun. If the person dresses very feminine, then that person goes with the she pronoun. That person also says that she's somewhat non-binary and not just binary, like persons will say I'm a cisgender woman or a cisgender man or I'm a trans man or a trans woman. Those are binary. Non-binary are the ones who don't take a gender per se or a side. So her parents remove her P and leave her with the V. Now she grew up feeling like she would have wanted the P more than the V. She's now married to a woman, but she can't get back her P because the doctors removed it. And when she consulted with doctors now to see if they can recorrect it, they're saying that it's not going to be possible. If they even get to the point where it's possible, it might not be effective. She might not be able to get an erection and all of that. So she's saying it doesn't make sense she put her body through all of that to not know if it's gonna work. So when parents should have kids and the kids born with both organs or sex markers or gonads or chromosome, I think they should leave it up to the child to decide when that child gets to a suitable age, which organ they wanna keep or if they want to keep both. Because look at trans women. A lot of trans women are out there and their libido is still active. They did not take the medication to make their libido not active, so they're not able to get an erection anymore. A lot of trans women out there are still getting an erection from down there and they still have breasts. So if those trans women want to be identified as intersex, they can. But it's up to people, like I say, tell people how you want to be identified and let people respect you for who you are. Live your truth. The sex spectrum is the concept of a continuum of people with sexes ranging from people with typical male physiology to people with typical female physiology. So as I said, the word hermaphrodite has been removed to intersex, and I hope you understand the definition for intersex. Because in the past, like I said, the heterosexual community would disrespect the hermaphrodite people, like, hey, hermaphrodite, you're a hermaphrodite. God didn't like you, and that is why He made you a hermaphrodite. Just like they would stress the lesbians and call them dyke, like you dyke over there, and for the gay men, they would call them other words. I'll touch that later on in the slide, where I tell you some of the derogatory words that are not supposed to be used. The final one on this spectrum, the orientation spectrum. It refers to people to whom their sexual and or romantic orientation is towards persons of the same gender and or sex. Gay, lesbian, and same gender. This also speaks to people who doesn't date same gender. In short, basically what this is saying, who your sexual preference is. Example, a non-binary person can be sexually or romantically attracted to any other person, and that doesn't change their identity on or on the reverse side. So basically, who you're sexually attracted to doesn't have to be synchronizing with who you are romantically attracted to. Again, orientation on the spectrum. A lot of persons see orientation differently because a lot of people feel like you have to be physically attracted to a certain gender or a certain person with a certain identity. No, I can be physically or I can be sexually attracted to a cisgender woman or just about any woman. Say, for example, this is a girl or a woman. I'm attracted to her sexually, but I'm not connected with her romantically. But of course, I'm going to have sex with her because sex is just sex. Once you have a feminine organ, I'm going to do whatever I need to do and I get my vibe. But am I in love with you? Am I romantically attracted to you? No. So it doesn't have to synchronize, it doesn't have to go hand in hand. And that is why the definitions say sexually and or romantically. For the persons who are compatible, you would have a better relationship if you are attracted to the person sexually and romantically, then you will have a better relationship. But again, some people look at attractions as male to female and female to male. You can be attracted to anything. What about the persons who they're doing a lot of what they call it abstinence, like they are, there's a word they call it, I don't remember right, but like they're not having sex any at all because some form of beliefs that they just want to be by themselves and not be in a relationship. Like, are you gonna tell them that they're heterosexual even though they're not sexually active? You know what I mean? So to each his own. You just have to choose who you want, who you like, and just let other people live their life for themselves. People who are sexually and are romantically attracted to both men and women and are those who are attracted to folks with non-binary genders are found in the middle region, which is why they're often collectively known as middle sexualities. So that speaks for itself. Note briefly, many of the same terms used to describe sexual orientation apply to romantic orientation as well. But remember, someone's sexual orientation spectrum is not necessarily the same as their romantic. Yeah, I just touched that part. Something else I wanted to let you know. What is the LGBTQ community? In short, the best way to look at it, the LGBTQ community is a group of words put together to define either your sexual orientation, or your sexuality, or your identity, or your gender. So this is why the spectrum tells you a person can fall anywhere on the spectrum and they don't have to be stagnant. They can move across the board back and forth around in circles, meaning you can be a bisexual today. 10 years from now, you decide you don't want to be bisexual anymore. You want to be with just men. If you were a cisgender man and you just want to be with men, then you're now gay. If you're a cisgender man, you don't want to be with men anymore. You want to go to be with just women alone, then you're now back to being heterosexual. So because you're bi and you're now heterosexual, it's who you are. People have to adjust with you just the same. Because 10 years ago, I was living the life of a female because I had no choice, but now I'm living the life as a male because all my paperwork here in Canada has been changed to a male. So it's disrespecting when persons are gonna see me and still refer to me as a female, even though I've done so many work on myself, on my body, mentally, physically, psychologically, and all the other things that I had to do to get to where I'm at, and people are still living in the past. Bisexual, pansexual, queer, these are terms that you can find them on Google if you need. This is another definition for transgender. I just want to touch on the transsexual because this is a word that we're not using anymore. So transsexual is a word that is no longer being used as it was somewhat used in a negative way to speak to the medical stages of a transgender. Like for myself, who have done medical transitioning, people would consider me to be transsexual, but it's somewhat discriminating to the other transgender persons who don't feel like they want to do surgeries because transgender and transsexual are under the same umbrella, the trans umbrella, but a lot of transgender persons don't want to do medical transitions. They still want to stay with the body parts they were given. They still want to stay with the gender they were given, even though they don't live like that gender. So they were given the female gender. For example, the trans man was given the female gender. That person doesn't dress like a female, doesn't speak like a female. That person don't even want to be called a female, but they just don't want to go through the whole transition, name change, paperwork, because that is a different level. That is like going to college. It takes 3 to 6 years to transition for some people because you need to give your body time to adjust mentally, and where your medical changes are concerned, you need time to heal. Doing a surgery, you don't heal in 6 days or 6 weeks. Some people it takes 6 months, a year, and maybe more. So you can't just run through the stages like it's a race, because then you'll get tired and burnt out and stressed out, and some people become depressed along the way. So like I said, people should be free to express themselves or identify how they want to identify. Sorry. Non-binary person. Non-binary is a person who doesn't go by any specific gender. I already touched upon that. Some of the pronouns that they use are he, they, she, him, her, them, and the others continue. Again, these people will tell you what they prefer. Don't use these things if you're not sure. If you're not sure of a person's gender identity or a person's pronoun, it's best to use them or their. Even if you're referring to a single person, use them, their, or they. You can never be wrong. Even the Oxford Dictionary right now has reclaimed the word they. The word they is now used as a singular or a plural pronoun to make it more safe. That's what they did, because persons were feeling they're feeling like disrespected or like ridiculed when a person would look on them and wrongfully pronoun them or continuously mispronoun them. So they took it up with the dictionary, and the dictionary made some amendments. Even the always pad, the female monthly thingy pad, what they call it, I'm not even sure. Sanitary napkin, because I'm so done with those things years ago. I don't remember what it is called. But always has removed the female from the sanitary napkin. Always remove the female. There used to be a female on the pads. They removed female from it totally because a transgender person brought them to court saying that trans men use these things too when their monthly stuff come. They have to use these things too because not all trans men medically transition to the point where they don't see period anymore. So a lot of things are changing, and it's good when society and the persons who will be working in the future with people who are a part of the community know these things, so when they have to deal with us, then they're better able to do so. We all know who's a lesbian and who's a gay person. Two-spirited person came about from the indigenous community, and two-spirited these were persons who the indigenous community, they don't place a lot of emphasis on male or female masculinity or whatever. They place more emphasis on this the personality, the spirit, who you are as a person. Indigenous people are very in touch with their land and the seven grandfather teachings, the things that are given to you by nature, the land, the water, the wind. These are things that they place more emphasis in more than who you are, what you wear. So their two spirit for them is that they take on both spirit, a male spirit and a female spirit. They can be separate, they can be together or interchangeable. I had an indigenous teacher in school, and the person go by they them there, or sometimes a she. And even sometimes when you look at her, she's dressing very masculine. When you see her dressing very masculine, then you know her pronoun is not a she. So but these are conversations you have to have with them first, because you can't assume that every indigenous person or every two-spirited person is the same. Cisgender, you can look that up in the dictionary. Well, I spoke about it earlier on. A cisgender person is any person who goes with the body they were given or the gender they were given at birth. They don't care to make any changes to their body. They're not going to transition like a transgender. So a cisgender is the opposite of a transgender. The transgender don't go with the parts they were given or the gender they were given at birth. The cisgender stays with the gender they were given, and they have no reason or no thoughts of changing in the future. These are some of the myths. LGBTQ people are often branded as confused, mentally challenged, gender stupid, time wasters, sinners, blah, blah, blah. Myths continue. They say some of us are sexually abusive, meaning we force our sexual orientation on others or on children, and some of them feel like we try to get we try to convert people, like we approach heterosexual people, try to get them inside our bedroom, and then we make it seem as if we can convert them or change them. So that's how the sexually abusive comes about. Some say we're mentally abusive because our orientation, we use who we are to gain sympathy from the heterosexual population, and then we play upon their emotion. These are myths. Not even if you have 1 out of every 10 LGBTQ person who does any of those things mentioned up top, we're still human beings. Heterosexual do things that are out of the norm too. Heterosexual forces heterosexual into relationship, heterosexual rape, and all these things. But you don't see people creating myths about them. You don't see people stereotyping when they do these things. But as soon as a LGBTQ person makes a mistake, even if it was by an accident or it happened accidentally, people don't care. It's just like a red flag, and it's just something to use against us and brand the entire community because of one person's mistake. Derogatory terms that I would like for people not to use: the fish, the hermaphrodite, the he, she. Like people refer to us as he, she, especially the transgenders. They say he, she, or the gay men, they would say the shim or the shimmy. Like these are not so cool things to use. Like some people like to say it's like the it over there. So the it's like I don't deal with it. Like, would you want somebody to be calling you a it? Like that's not cool. These are just some of them. Like I said, tranny, don't use that. Sex change, don't use that. It's okay if somebody in the LGBTQ told you that they did a sex change, it's not okay for you to go and tell somebody else, oh, Kevin did a sex change, because if the person told you, it's between you and them. And even if you hear two persons in the community having a conversation and they will say, oh, I'm a tranny friend, they are not supposed to be doing that. But if you should hear them say it, don't repeat it, because it's among them. Like I would say there are words that we use in the black community, like the N word. When black people communicate with each other, they would use the N word. I don't like that word because that word come from slavery, and there's so much history with it. But if a white person should call a black person the N word, then it becomes a big argument. So how is it okay for you to use it among yourself, but not okay for somebody else? But that's politics. So in the LGBTQ, I always tell my peers, do not use the words on yourself, because if someone else uses it, then you're gonna feel offended. So basically, this is a summary. It's safer to use a person's name for a pronoun. If you're not sure what pronoun the person uses, use their name. Kevin said Kevin did this. Kevin is not feeling well. Kevin is having a Kevin day. If you don't want to say he or she, use the person's name. Your sexuality is different from your identity. Your sexuality is who or what you are attracted to on an intimate basis or on a physical basis, while your identity is how you identify. Just some summary for if you miss out on the presentation. Again, this might cause some confusion. However, the Oxford Dictionary has reclaimed the word they. I mentioned that earlier on. So if you happen to be teaching, parenting, dating, or even working with members of the LGBTQ, it is paramount that you show respect, because we can feel it easily when you're homophobic or transphobic. It is understandable when you make a mistake with our pronouns or misgendering us. When it happens by an accident or once it's accidental, we know the difference. However, if it's deliberate, we can also figure it out. It hurts our entire core. Remember, we're human beings just like you, so we do feel bad when you say this thing. But just for clarity, if it happened to you, instead of sitting there and trying to explain why you did this or why you said that, just quickly apologize, correct yourself, and move on. Do not just end the conversation, and do not try to justify, because it might just make the person more irritated. If it's a mistake, it's a mistake. Just apologize and move on. When communicating with LGBTQ people, don't start by saying, I personally don't believe it is right. However, I respect you as a person. That doesn't make any sense. Start by saying, I respect you as a person, so I'm going to listen to you, or I'm going to help you because I respect you as a person. We never ask for your belief. We never ask for your opinion. When you go to the store to buy something, you don't tell the store owner, I don't think this looks good, but I'm going to buy it anyway. It's your choice, it's your money. If you don't want it, you don't have to buy it. If we come to you for services, if you happen to communicate with us, stop telling us about your belief. We don't care who is Jesus. What if I don't know Jesus, but I come to your church so you can tell me about Jesus? But that doesn't mean I'm going to listen or I'm going to believe you, because sometimes we really don't care. So it's just plain and straight. If you're going to start a conversation by saying, I don't like maths, but I'm here in school anyway, you will never pass maths. You'll never get anywhere, because you already fail yourself with a introduction like that. So just work upon yourself. And in concluding, workshops like these are very important to society. A lot of students in Canada were not born here. They're coming from different backgrounds, and a lot of them are not exposed to the LGBTQ education. So workshops like these are very important in school, especially when you have somebody who is living the life of a LGBTQ person, who can give you more of an insight to the life we live. So that's it for moi.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for your presentation. Hey, Sean. At this time, guys, do you have any questions you want to ask Kevin?
Me.
Hey,
Hi, my name's Susan. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. I'm glad you touched on the fact about Jamaica and stuff because I probably would have asked. That's really brave what you've done. It's not
Thank
really a
you.
question, it's just a statement.
Thank you.
Good on you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Oscar.
Hello, my name is Oscar. I was just wondering because around 10 years ago in Ontario, there was this big debate. What happened is CAMH, what they used to do is they tried to, what I heard is they tried to reverse gender dysphoria before puberty, and then after puberty, they would recommend um, gender reassignment therapy and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm using that correctly. But however, they did ban that, how do you call it, for children prior to puberty to try to reverse their identity. I was wondering what you think about that.
Personally, it's up to the parents how they feel. I don't think it's ever too early for a child to transition, but I do know that if it's too late, it can cause a lot of psychological effects. That person can suffer internally, and you might lose that child even though that child is still alive. You can lose that child because I rather to have a healthy child and the child transition and regret 10 years or 20 years later that I fostered the decision for him or her or the person to transition rather than I live 10 years of my life stressed out trying to figure out what's going on with my child. But parents have to be role models to their children. They need to have conversation with their children so they can see the signs from early and just have talks with your kid. If a 5-year-old tells me that that person wants to transition, I would tell that person, you know, you're still young, so let's just see if this is a phase and we just enjoy it together. You want to just like a girl, I'll buy your girl clothes. You want to just like a boy, either or, I'll buy you the clothes. Let the child live their life as a child before you make a adult decision for the child. That's just my say. But my first daughter is now 14, almost 15. And what I said to her during one of our conversations, I told her, you're around me every day, and I don't want you to feel like you should transition because I transition. I don't want you to grow up feeling like a lesbian because I've lived that life. I want you to live your life as a girl if you ever feel like you're a girl. And then if you're gonna change to being a boy or a trans, try it out first and see what works for you. I don't want you to just get up and switch like that without even knowing what was there before. I lived my life as a girl. I wasn't happy. And I tried living my life as a boy, and that's when I found all the comfort and all the happiness. So I am now embracing my truth. So for kids, again, it's up to the parents. If the child is 10, 11, 12, and the child feels like they want to do this, it's up to the parent. But I would say personally, I would leave the medical part of it until later up. But if anyhow they want to dress, they want, if it's a boy and she wants to comb her hair a certain way, if it's a boy and she wants to identify as a girl, do that. It doesn't hurt. But where the medical part is concerned, I would say some things can be delayed because statistics have shown that between certain ages as a child growing up to adolescent, you might be attracted to the same sex. You might be attracted to different categories of people. So it's just your body developing the way it should be. And that is why I'm glad I didn't do my transition too early. I waited until the later stages when I knew that I was really ready and this is what I want.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
The family plays a very important role in growing up, right? and you said that you knew from you were between the ages of 3 to 6 that you wanted to you felt that you were a boy. However, as you're saying now, you're saying to me now that to us that they gave they raised you as a girl, right?
Yeah.
So how did you make the decision to say, okay, then I'm definitely a boy, even though that your parents raised you as a girl?
Because it's very easy to tell that you're not what people see you as or what people want you to be. Okay, for example, you live all your life as a female. Even if your mom should buy you boy clothes, you would not feel comfortable because that's not how you feel. For me, I'm getting all these girl clothes and I don't feel like a girl. It's the opposite. So I would not want my parents to transition me from then, but I would want them to at least let me wear the boy clothes and feel comfortable as a girl then wearing a boy clothes, because it could have been just a phase that I was going through. But how would they know if they never gave me the opportunity to figure it out? Because a lot of persons who
Once
feel
again,
like they're gay very early, they
yeah,
don't continue.
but once again, would it be that it would be culture affiliated because they're not used to that or they're not educated? Could it be that?
Yeah, I know it's
Right.
because of the culture and the way in which they were socialized, they weren't able to accommodate me. I understand that. And that is why sessions like these are important. So the parents of tomorrow's world won't make the same mistakes that our parents made. And then they lose their kids, because a lot of children migrate and they're not even speaking with their parents right now because they can't tell their parents who they are. They can't pick up the phone and say, "Mommy, I love you, but I'm gay." If they do that, their parents, their mothers, fathers will never speak to them again. So even though they're miles away, they're still not open with their family who they are.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Guys, you're good?
I'm good. Is everyone all right?
Yeah, that was great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for taking time with your busy schedule to come and have this talk with us.
No problem. You're welcome anytime, guys. Thank you for having me. And I hope everyone learned something.
Oh, Clara. Go ahead, Clara.
Hey, thank you for that great talk. I just wanted to, I had a question. Do you think it's best for parents to raise their kids androgynously? So just to let them like wear anything they want, play with anything, that might be the best, right? To raise
I
them?
de- yes, I definitely feel so, because remember, children are just children and they just want to explore. Like, if a child wants to play with girl clothes, let the child do it. Because I'm not, okay, parents in my culture, as soon as the boy touches the dolly, put it down, you're a boy, you're not supposed to be playing with dolly. So if what that can do to that child is the child can internalize it differently and shuts down, because as a child you're not understanding why they're telling you you can't play with it, but the other person in the house is playing with it. So because she's a girl, she can play with it and I can't because I'm a boy, but it's just a toy. So they are trying to groom the child to be heterosexual, not realizing it can cause some other mental damage to the child. And when the child try to speak up for themselves, they say, "Shut your mouth, don't speak when adults speak to you, go and sit down." This child grows up to be an inferior. They don't know how to speak, how to advocate for themselves, because they're trying to curb one thing and create something else. So grow the child androgynously and let the child just live. Kids are kids. Like I say, a lot of 12-year-old who feel like they're lesbians and gays now, 10 years later, they might not be. So don't force it too early. Just let them enjoy themselves. I got beaten for being gay. Even church I went to, and these people beat me with Bible and all these things, told me that demons is in me and all these things. And here I am still living my truth, and I still pray to a God like them every day. So I just think it's easier to raise a child androgynously and just let them live and choose when they get to the age.
Thank you.
Suzanne, I had seen you raise your hand earlier. Is that still Oh, Oscar.
I have another question. I know somebody who in high school struggled with same-sex attraction, and she felt very guilty, and she, tried getting medical help and stuff like that. I was
Mhm.
wondering, did you experience anything like that growing up?
Oh yes, because I knew I had feelings for women, and because I was technically a woman then, or physically a woman then. So when I was having all these feelings, and I tried to talk to my peers, my pastors, my siblings, they wouldn't understand. They when I went to church, that's a different story. I went to church for prayer because I didn't know what to do anymore. I'm tired of trying to be something I'm not. I went and spoke to the pastor. You know what happened? He raped me. Like I've had different episodes of sexual molestation from men, spiritual men, religious men who I went to for counseling, trying to figure out who I am and why am I feeling this urge for women and not for men. I was molested by different people in high places. From a very young age, I was being molested sexually. So this is what happens to a lot of persons in the LGBTQ. They go to somebody for guidance and counseling based on their sexuality or their orientation, and people just feel like if I have sex with you, it will change you from who you want to be and bring you back to who you're supposed to be, which is wrong. But then they don't preach about those things. So yeah, it's some of those things just need to stop. Did I see a hand earlier on? No, it disappeared. Yeah, disappear. So, any more questions for me? Rita?
Go ahead, Rita.
Hi, Kevin. So
Hello.
this my question is kind of based off what Clara said. I hope I'm not asking the same question. Do you think that, or do you believe that it's okay to assume like when like a baby is born, if they're born a girl, to treat basically treat the baby as a girl until it grows up and it could make it its own decisions basically?
It's up to the parent again to choose what they think is best for their child. But in my house, I'm not raising none of my kids to be binary, because what this does is make them feel like this is the way they have to be. And if they feel differently, then they will be pressured not to live their truth. I have two daughters in my house because society said they are girls, but I don't really refer to them to girls, girls, girls unless it doesn't matter. I call them by their name instead of their gender, and I make sure they wear every color in the color books. I'm not making them wear just pink and yellow or whatever because that's what girls are supposed to wear now. If they want to ride bicycle, I'm gonna buy a bicycle. They want to play with dolly, I'm gonna buy a dolly, and I'm gonna buy both for the ones who can't choose for themselves. When they get to the stage and they want to choose, then the choice is theirs. So it to each his own. I can't dictate to people what to do because somebody would have dictated to my parents, and here I am. My parents are still married, living their heterosexual life, and they have a saying in my culture: children live what they learn. Well, I didn't learn to be the heterosexual binary that my family grew up with, or what they wanted or expected for me. So a teacher asked me the other day, she said in her classroom, she's always saying one side is for the girls and one side is for the boys. So if that is wrong, I say, I'm not gonna tell you that you're wrong, but what I'll say, if I were you, I would have said it differently. I would have said, children, sit wherever you feel to sit because this classroom is for everyone. Why do you need to separate the girls from the boys in class? Like, this is not like the days when the kids would misbehave and be underneath the table touching each other or doing something. This is different years. We're in a different age and stage now. So just treat everybody as equal. Forget about gender. Gender is just a word, just like school is just a word, but we go there to learn, right? And right now, COVID is happening. We're not going to school to learn anymore. So school is just a place now. The emphasis that we used to place on, you have to go to school, don't be absent from school one day, that's just a building now. Everybody's studying online. So the norms again are changing. If school was that, if the place was that important, we would not be having online school right now. We'd put on 6 and 7 masks and go to school. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. I understand. Thank you.
All right, no worries. Did I see Oscar hand up?
Yes, I have a question again. Because you mentioned that your brothers are pastors, and I come from a Catholic Christian background, and right now, the issue of gender is very contentious. You have people living in North America and Western Europe trying to be more accepting, and then you have churches in, especially in Africa, where it's booming right now, that are against it. So I was wondering, with your experience growing up in a religious home and being trans, how would you try to promote inclusivity, or what's your what's your opinion on the whole thing and from a religious sort of point of view or Christian point of view?
From a religious point of view, the fact that I grew up in a spiritual home, it's very rough, and it might be a never-ending battle. But like they say, a lot of times people have to leave their hometowns, their home countries, so they can be happy. Because you can't be living for your family; they're not living for you. The same God that they worship, whoever their God is, you worship somebody too. So leave all judgment to God. Remember, family should be like a collective unit. And they always say a chain is as strong as its weakest link. So if your family choose to treat you like an outcast, they are not family like they're supposed to be. I said something to my siblings some time ago because we had a jump off because I did an interview with the Glean and it went viral. They're saying I should never put my transition out there in the public because now I make them look bad because people are going to judge them based on my decision to transition. And I'm like, when you speak to me like that, don't you think that you're hurting my feelings? And he's like, this is not about you, it's about me. So it gets back to the point where people live for them. You as a pastor gonna pick up your phone and call me to tell me I disrespect your ministry by speaking about me. So you're concerned about you. You're not concerned that I've lived my life trying to please you people. I could have committed suicide. Why do you think suicide is so high among LGBTQ people? Because we're not getting the love that we're supposed to be getting from our family. If they want to get spiritual, the Bible says love your neighbor as yourself. Love your brother, love your sister, be your brother's keeper. But they're quicker to place emphasis on the fact that Sodom and Gomorrah says this and the Bible says this and the Bible says that. What if I don't believe in the Bible, which I do? But they're placing emphasis on the wrong thing. So where your country is concerned and where the spiritual or religious people are concerned, if they want to be as religious as they should be, the Bible says, let the wheat and the tare grow together until the day of harvest. 13 people might be in the classroom. One person might come out to be a teacher. One person might be a doctor, a lawyer, a police. Everybody work together. There will not be 13 of you who graduate from this course and all 13 of you will be working in the same environment or in the same job field. I went to do studies as SSW. I'm not working in a shelter with homeless people. Where are all my other colleagues? They're all over. Some people are working in agencies. Some people are doing cleaning. You do whatever you have to do to make a living once it is legal and legitimate. So it goes back to you as a person, as an individual. Some people will say they would not do cleaning for a living because it's against their standard. Okay, some people would say I would not date a woman because I was born a woman and I don't believe in being a lesbian. It's again your belief. But I'm not here forcing people to be lesbian, gays, or part of the LGBTQ. I accept everybody for who they are. So all we need is people to accept us just the same. And if they can't accept us, at least respect us. So trying to get the love and the attention from religious people is gonna be a never-ending battle, but live your truth, and someday the ones who matter most will come around. The ones who don't matter, they just don't matter.
Thank you.
All right. Susan, was there somebody else?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. So actually, that just brings me to my next question. I guess you don't have a relationship with your family back home.
I do, but it's not like I want it to be. Because we talk like there's hardly a day that I do communicate with my family, but not everyone in the family. Because my family is very big. My dad has 17 kids, my mom has 10. So these are people who are from a home where my dad is married to my mom, but yet he still went and he got 7 children outside of marriage, and they don't see that as a problem because the culture is that men can have sex with whoever and get whoever pregnant. They don't see that as a problem, but they see my transition as a problem. What sin did I commit? Did I go out there and get pregnant for 10 different men? No. Am I abusing anybody? Am I hurting anybody? What crime am I committing? None. What rules am I breaking? None. Any rule I break is against me and my God. You know what I mean? But they talk to me, but they just bypass the whole transition. They still refer to me as a she. They still call me by my previous name. So I distance my communication. I was a part of the family group where we would talk every day because they're Christians. So every morning they send their scriptures, good morning, have a good day, blah, blah, blah. If it is somebody's birthday, they post up pictures. So my phone will be going off every day. If we're to make decisions for our parents, we will put it in. Daddy's birthday is coming up. How much money can you put? What are we doing? You know, these are family stuff we talk about. But anything to do with me personally, no. When I did my surgeries, 3 out of the 17 people connected with me to see how I'm doing, how am I healing. The rest is like bypass it. As soon as my transition is better and I'm okay and I'm moving around again, who wants money? They ask for money. Like, can I get $100 this week? Whatever. Some of them only communicate with me when it suits them. So I distance myself from those. The ones who embrace me and the ones who show that they don't care what I transition to or who I am or who I was, they love me. I'm not sure what they love, if it's me, my money, my spirit, my past person, but it's still okay that at least 4 out of the 17 connect with me. And if even if they don't, it doesn't matter. I'm in Canada, they're all in the islands. What can they do for me here? Absolutely nothing. If I'm here, I'm broke and I'm hungry, I can't call none of them. So I'm not gonna sit here and worry myself if I have a relationship with them or not. There are people out there where their parents are dead and they're still living. They're in different countries and they're still living. So those things are not priority for me, to be honest. My mom talks to me every day, my dad talks to me. So the siblings who are Christians who feel like they shouldn't associate themselves with me because of my transition, they should be reading their Bible more, because you should love your neighbor. And the Bible said, judge not. So if they're not going to talk to me because I made the decision to transition, then it's on them. I'm here waiting with open arms if they ever come around. If they don't, life goes on. I live 30 odd years of my life living for them. And 3 to 4 years I decide to live for me, and it becomes a problem, then it's going to be a problem. And this is why I want people to live for themselves, because your family is not living for you. So you have to live for you and be happy. Once you're happy, nothing else matters. Find people around you who supports you and love you for who you are, and that's all you need. Mhm.
Well said. Thank you.
Was there another hand? Oh, I see the comment section. Clara, go
Hi,
ahead.
I have another question. I know that trans people they have to deal with a disproportionately large amount of violence than their gay counterparts, but have you ever had to deal with that, and how do you handle that? Like in the streets or in person, like a random person comes up to you and starts, like spewing hate. Like, how do you deal with that?
If a random person comes up to me and like attack my sexuality or my gender,
Yeah, like I know it's really hard for them because in the streets, like especially if you're a visible trans woman, they get harassed and catcalled and stuff like that. Like how do you deal with that? You just walk away from it?
uh yes, because it's gonna hurt more than it would help if you stick around and argue, because then they're gonna continue to be disrespectful even more. Some of them just need your attention and they tend to go about it the wrong way. For me, every opportunity I get to educate somebody, I do. And if you're not in the position that you want to learn, I'm going to move on because you're not worth my time. Time is valuable, time is money. And if I'm going to be here speaking to people, like I'm here with you guys and I tell Nats I'll do it for free. Other platforms I charge because I have a business, right? But my business is not about making money. My business is about getting people to understand, getting people to learn. So if while they're learning and they want to give me a honorarium or they want to pay me or whatever, I'm okay. If I don't get money, I still do it for free because every opportunity I get to educate somebody about us, I will. I've been harassed before. I work at a club. I'm a bouncer. So I was working there while I was transitioning. I still had boobs. So guys would walk up to me and they would say, you're a man or you're a woman? Like, are you a male or are you a female? I work in the Black People Club too, so I'm picked up on a lot. Men would come and they want to dance with me because they still feel like I'm a female. I'm not attracted to cisgender male like that. So when a man come and try to dance with me, I'll be like, yo, back up. Don't be doing that because you know I'm not about that. And they're like, oh, because you love woman, you want to go and rub crotch. Like they're very derogatory and disrespectful. I just ignore, because if I should respond to them, it's gonna be a never-ending argument, and then we might end up in a fist-to-fist. It's not worth it. I'm not trying to get a criminal record for defending my sexuality or my identity or who I like. You're not worth my words. You're not worth my time. You're even worth my punches. You know how much energy it takes to have a fist-to-fist fight? It's even more. It's even more time consuming when you have to be in a back-to-back, word-for-word arguing with somebody. No, I ain't got time for that. I'll just walk away and move on to the next person, you know? So, yes, it does happen a lot. And what I tell the LGBTQ people, stop arguing back, stop fighting back. The biggest insult is when somebody is trying to disrespect you and you ignore them. They're talking to themselves. That's also how I deal with it.
They're just trying to get a rise out of you, right?
Yeah, they're just trying to get you to a point where they can own you. Don't bring yourself down to their level. So they look at you, okay, so you're fat. For example, you're fat. They would say, they would say something about you being fat. Oh, I know I'm fat, so why do I need to respond to you? You know what I mean? You're telling me something that is already obvious. You're wasting your time. They're just doing things to pick on you, to say things. Oh, it's like you're in school and they would pick on you and say your eyes are big, and you as a child would sit and close your eyes all day and not learn anything. No, I come to school to learn just as you, so I'm going to open my big eyes and I'm going to learn more than you. So when exam comes and the test comes, my grade is going to be better than yours, and then I'll tell you, yes, because my eyes are big, I use them to my advantage.
Thank you.
Yeah, you gotta own your disadvantage and make something out of it. People see me as abnormal. I'm gonna use my abnormality to make me a better person. Persons with disability are very educated just the same, and they're very good at something. So find your strength and use your strength to your advantage and forget about what they see as your weakness. Men would use it at me every day to say I can never get a girl pregnant. So all the like there was somebody on the Gleaner interview. You can change everything you want to change. You can take away your top, you can take away your bottom. I don't matter if you get the real D and it's bigger than mine, you can never give birth, you can never get your woman pregnant. My wife just had a 7-month-old baby for me. Like, they need to get with the flow. You don't need to have sex with a man to get pregnant. There are other ways out there you can do it. Technology has changed, medical has changed, a lot of things out there. The Bible says what was hidden from the wise and prudent will be revealed to the babe and suckling. I just got my wife pregnant last year and the baby is now 7 months. We never need an actual man to do everything. I did it for myself, basically. All I needed was to pay for the sperm and that was it. So what they're worried about the wrong things. I'm living my life. My wife and I are getting married in August, so we are living the life just as if we were a normal or a regular heterosexual couple, male and female. I'm the man in the relationship. She's the woman in the relationship. And we're living our life happily. So people worried about the wrong things. So yeah, they pick on us, they pick on the trans women, but they pick on the trans women more because I think some of them see the trans women as a competition because the trans women, they go all out to look their best. Their makeup on par, their eyelash on par, their whatever is well dolled up and well look good. So when people see them, they just sometimes envy them and they don't know how to give a compliment, so they argue. Instead of giving a compliment, they pick a quarrel. I was amazed. I walk into this I was working with this agency and they had their 30th anniversary gala. And when I walk in looking nice in my jacket suit and well look, I was surprised when a man came up to me and said, "My brother, you look stunning." Another man would look at me and say, why you have to go on so? You didn't have to come looking this good to make the other men look as if they're not trying. It ain't my fault why you don't put yourself together. You know it's a gala, it's something big and fancy. Wear your best jacket suit. You come in a t-shirt and then you're gonna make it seem as if I make you look bad. Bro, it's not my fault why I wanna look good. You know what I mean? So they wanna blame you for their shortcomings. The men out there were not doing what they're supposed to do. When a trans man is doing something for their woman, they want to make you look bad. I did some stuff for my wife for Mother's Day the other day, and people are messaging me like, you don't have to be going all out. Who is stopping them from going all out too? It ain't me. Live and let live, guys. Not for living the truth. You have to live your truth and live for you.
Also, ooh, bad feedback.
I'm seeing some nice comments.
All right, guys. Thanks again, Kevin. We'll talk.
No problem. Take care. Thanks,
All right,
guys, for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Take care.